Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Privileged and Confidential podcast. Today's guest is Cory Fischer. Cory is a risk manager who works with tech companies, consumer brands, and manufacturers. He's passionate about making insurance approachable and showing business owners how the risk coverage brings peace of mind to focus on growth. Cory, I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here.
Okay, so Cory helped Adam and I set up our insurance, what is now years ago, which is wild. So we're going to talk generally about some of the basics that small businesses and even law firms need. However, I want to get into the fun stuff, which I consider fun, is the IP insurance piece. So Cory, obviously intellectual property has become so pervasive with content, social media. Most businesses, if they are not selling online directly, they have some sort of digital presence. So what are some of the issues that you see with businesses coming up around IP, and how can businesses be proactive by having IP insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to start off by saying IP insurance is important, but having someone like you they go hand in hand, right? You don't want to get one without the other. So like if you're thinking about, protecting your business and then you come to me and you want to, get IP insurance, like that's great. But like I always recommend talking to a lawyer first. And then, we could work together to get the insurance in place. And the IP insurance, there's basically like two sides of it, right? There's the defense coverage, which pays a legal cost if you're accused of infringing on someone else's IP, right? So I'm sure you see this quite a bit, or you're oftentimes on the other side of it, right? So if you're a company and someone comes after you and says you infringed on their patent, trademark, copyright, or trade secret, this policy will defend you and they'll help pay for your defense costs, and they will represent you basically a lot of the stuff that you do, right? Like the insurance carrier will pay a lot of your bills. And then the other side of it, which is not as prevalent, especially not in this country, but I do just want to touch on it. It's what's called enforcement coverage. Certain states offer it, certain states don't due to regulatory restrictions. Like for instance, we can't get it in New York because oftentimes they view it as like litigation financing and not really insurance. So at the basic sense, insurance is like it protects you if you're being sued. It's not a vehicle designed to like go after or fund litigation. Yeah, but some states do offer it, right? It's a little more expensive than the defense stuff, and it's not the primary cause. If we do get that type of coverage, it's basically like works on a reimbursement schedule. So for instance, if you had the enforcement coverage and you said, okay, someone's knocking us off, you go to the insurance company and you say, okay, we want to sue this person for, taking our trademarks or secrets or patents, whatever. And then the insurance company, if they think that you have a case, they will give you the thumbs up and they will say, okay, we approve it. You go sue them. And if you win, we will reimburse you. If you don't win, you're on your own. But like I said, it's not as prevalent in the United States, and it is only available in certain states. But the defense is available
fascinating.
all over.
And it's also, I remember it was one of like the first things when I was working in-house at a client that came up. I think we're so eager just to jump in when we get a cease and desist letter or send a cease and desist letter. But if you're advising businesses, the first thing to do is to tell your client, notify your insurer. Like stop, take a minute before we even, get into the substance. Do you have insurance, and notify your insurer, because it's possible that you have coverage. And I think now, like I was saying at the beginning, with everything being so digital and having a digital presence, it's so important for businesses to have the proper insurance, because we're talking millions of dollars, especially with like patent litigation and some core trademark litigation. You could literally be spending millions of dollars getting sued or having to sue people. So it's wildly important.
Yeah, so kind of on that note, right, let's talk about a different type of coverage that I think is really important, especially when we have like the internet and social media and the way we portray ourselves in the media. And so back not that long ago, a cyber insurance policy was protected you against if someone hacked in and they breached your system. And there were two types of coverage on cyber. There's first party and third party. And a lot of insurances, there's first party and third party. First party is meant to put you back together. Third party protects you if someone is bringing suit against you. Recently, all the cyber policies started to branch out a little bit and include what's called media liability. Now, I think media liability is just as important, if not more, than like the cyber hack kind of stuff. So media liability protects you if someone brings suit against you because they don't like the way you portrayed yourself or them online. So, for instance, like I saw a case recently where a company was publishing comments that people made on their newsletter, like take me. It's kind of like a bro culture, like take me off your newsletter. You're so annoying. I hate these emails, which is fine, but they accidentally published the guy's name. Now, they put it on like their Facebook or maybe in one of their newsletters, and that guy brought suit against them. So that would fall under the media liability coverage, which is really important because, like you said, like we're all online these days. And like, if you're not advertising on, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's like, where are you advertising these days? Like commercials? I mean, come on. It's not, commercials aren't the first. It's like the third right now. So media liability is really important this day and age. Like every company should have a cyber policy with the media liability. And a little step further, the cyber policies also come with what's called like phishing attacks, social engineering. So you're a lawyer. We see a lot of lawyers, and the best of us can get tricked. Full disclosure, I gave some guy my personal information, and now they're creating credit cards in my name, and I, consider myself pretty savvy. So like, if someone, like, let's say you're a lawyer doing a closing, and the day before the closing, you get an email that looks totally legit that says, hey, we changed banks. Please wire the money to new bank instead of old bank. And I've seen lawyers get fooled and wire, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 to a bad actor. Or we've all seen those emails that come in that look like our boss, and they're exactly the way our boss or, speaks. And they say, hey, I need you to, pay this vendor. And then, someone in accounts payable ends up sending 20 grand off to a bad actor. So that'll cover you as well.
It's great. The insurance industry, I feel like, is one of the most modernized and like ahead, because I'm thinking, wow, I wish the law would catch up to this. The fact that all these coverages are available, I think it really speaks to how businesses can be proactive and how the insurance industry really is just the behemoth that it is, but at least they're keeping up with the times versus like the law. I feel like it's always a battle where we need to be thinking how we can strategically help clients with the laws that have, been enacted decades ago, right? So I think law partners really well with insurance, and it's a piece. I'm really glad you came on today because it's such an important piece for businesses to understand, but also for lawyers. If you're advising clients, they go hand in hand. So there's so much that we can be doing, but if clients can get ahead and at least have the peace of mind that if something bad happens, they can rely on their insurance provider to help fund, because it can get expensive, but it's an important part of your business. With fighting scams, fighting fakes, it could literally destroy your credibility and your reputation. I had a client once who's a very well-known film producer. They were running a phishing scam where they were soliciting scripts from unsuspecting people and charging them 20 grand to get an opportunity to meet with the producer and vet the script that they were writing. Wow. And it was actually hurting him because people in the industry were saying, well, even if it's not you, you should be monitoring this, and what's your legal team doing? But it's expensive, and people don't want to spend money on things that aren't going to make them more money. So I think by having a good insurance policy in conjunction with your enforcement strategy is going to help you get the clients what they need and going out and fighting, but then also being able to have the money to support it.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I said at the beginning. Like insurance and legal representation kind of go hand in hand, and like that's why I work with a lot of lawyers because as trusted advisors, when you talk to your clients, like you say, hey, listen, I think this is something smart for you to do. Talk to Cory, talk to someone like Cory. It doesn't have to be Cory, but you guys can call me. Um, and but equally as important, like you said, like people don't like spending money on things that don't make them money, and I see that all the time. Like people are like, why am I buying insurance? I feel like I'm throwing money away. I'm never using it. But like that's a good thing, right? You don't want to use it.
Mhm.
It's a backstop. It's there in case you need it. And like oftentimes insurance is good or beneficial for the defense payments because like like a line that I use all the time is like, we live in a litigious society. Anyone could
Mhm.
sue anyone for anything, right? So you didn't do anything wrong, or at least, right? It's all about perspective, right? You don't think you did anything wrong, but someone else does.
Yep.
I had a client recently. This was really cold. A lawyer in California basically was like hunting for companies that used a certain ingredient in a certain product. Then the lawyer found this company. Then the lawyer went out and found a person who used the product just so they could bring suit and said, like went on Facebook and said, who's used this product in California in the past 6 months? Someone came and said, I did. And then they said, okay, call me. The lawyer grabbed this person, put their name on a lawsuit, sued this other company, and said, like, you shouldn't have been using this ingredient. You knew you were using this ingredient, whatever, whatever. But this company didn't do anything wrong, right? And then they were sued for it. So like the insurance could pay for defense. It's good for that. But equally as important, like, and this is what I want to say about buying insurance, right? Work with a trusted agent. There's a lot of insurtechs out there, and insurtechs could be good, right? I don't want to, drag their name through the mud. But what I see oftentimes, and people like them because of the ease of use, but the ease of use doesn't always translate in you getting the right product, right? So you can go to these sites, you can fill out a form. You, based on how you fill it out, you could be miscategorized. They could end up
Mhm.
giving you, a policy that's too narrow, that the form isn't broad enough or isn't robust enough, right? And it's easy, right? You fill out the form, you get the policy. And I've seen a lot of these policies that were written correctly, but I've also seen a lot of them that were written incorrectly. So it's important that you really are working with someone that not only understands your business, understands your exposures, and understands the forms on the insurance because I just use the word robust or broad form. Like you want to make sure that when you're buying a policy, it has a lot of different types of coverages because oftentimes when insurance, a claims adjuster comes in, they work off of the lawsuit.
Mhm.
So if the lawsuit is worded in a certain way, the policy may not step in, or it will or won't depending on how it's worded. So it's
Wow.
really important that when you're buying insurance, like you're buying a very broad policy that has as much coverage as possible. Obviously, people like me, agents, like our fiduciary responsibility is to the insured and not to the carrier. So we want to get you the best price, the best coverage, work with you to figure out exactly what you want. But like just when you're buying coverage, whoever's listening, make sure it's broad, someone's reviewing it, and it suits your needs and your exposures.
Yeah, I think like when we started the firm 3 years ago now, it'll be about 3 years soon. So when we started it, that was the first thing I think working with you. I didn't even know how complex it was, but I felt like having someone that it's just like lawyers, right? Like you could
Yeah.
sign an agreement, but if you don't understand what you're signing, you could really screw yourself. So I always thought insurance was just boilerplate, but then you've educated us on understanding, even just the beginning of this podcast, go back, like there's so many different types of policies and that can cover you in different scenarios that you may need. That alone was helpful, but then like reviewing the policy and having you mark it up for us, that
Yeah.
was huge. And so I think for anyone who is thinking about starting a business or you have a business, I think doing whether you're speaking with somebody like Cory at the beginning and then also continuing to have conversations. We've done that where we started with like 3 people and
Yeah.
then grew to like 15 in a year. things are dramatically different. So we need different types of coverage. So doing those periodic audits, I think, are key. And then I think the key takeaways from this conversation can really be summarized as have a trusted insurance advisor who's looking out for you, telling you what you need to protect, because doing it proactively is a fraction of the cost. And then it should work hand in hand with lawyers. If you go to lawyers and insurance people post problem, it is expensive, and sometimes you can't get the recovery that you wish you would have had if you'd done it early. So think early, think strategic. And the last thing I want to say from our own experience is it was so much cheaper than I thought originally. I think you think, wow, this is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's a fraction of the cost. And just having that peace of mind, like, helps me sleep at night.
Yeah, we tell people like rough numbers is budget approximately 1% of your annual revenues towards insurance. It's usually less than that for super high risk businesses that probably none of the people listening are, like construction workers and stuff like that. It'll be a little more than 1%, but for most businesses, it'll probably be a 0.5%, 1/4% of revenues. So it's not a lot. And
Yes, ours was much less. Ours was less.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because you kind of made me remember, like, proving the point I was making. When you were shopping for your first policy, you brought me a policy that was a little less expensive through like some program, right? That didn't have a dedicated agent, and we looked through it together and we compared the papers, and I was like, this policy is a little better. It's going to give you broader coverage. And also you get someone like me, right? And how many times have I spoken with Adam like a million times over the past couple of years, because I really understand and know your business. And then the last thing that I was going to say also to your point is insurance is a type of thing you cannot buy it after you know you need it. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
If someone gives you a complaint letter and says, right, let's just use EPLI, for instance, employment practices liability, which covers you from wrongful termination or employee suits for wrongful termination, sexual harassment, discrimination. If an employee comes to you and says, you laid me off, I'm suing you, and then you go to buy EPLI coverage, that particular case will be excluded from the coverage. So even when you don't think you need insurance, it's a better time to buy it, because the minute something comes up, and I often hear people say to me, like, we've been in business for 20 years and nothing happens, but like, that doesn't mean it can't happen tomorrow. So it's all about being proactive, because the minute you know about something, it's no longer covered.
Totally. Yeah, I'm like, similar to IP law, it just takes longer. It's not impossible, but there's a hard cutoff with insurance. Cory, thank you so much. This was amazing. Where's the best place that people can connect with you?
LinkedIn. I'll give you information to share. I have a little one pager that I'm going to give you. I actually have two pages I'm going to give you. One, it's called the Startup Insurance Roadmap, and it's for companies that it takes you through all the different types of insurance and what the business milestone is that triggers you thinking about that insurance. And
Awesome.
then I made up a resource sheet just strictly for IP insurance that goes down all the different types of IP coverages, why it's useful, what it covers. So I'll send you both of that with my contact information, but LinkedIn is the best place. Cory Fischer at Fields Group Insurance.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Cory, and thanks everyone for watching. This is the
Thanks for
Privileged
having
and
me.
Confidential podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.